All right, everybody. So what you're going to want to do is locate your Math Antics exercise sheet. And this is going to be on area today. Okay, so again, it's going to say exercises in the top left corner. And we're going to be talking about area, more specifically about triangles and polygons. So once you have the sheet, let's go ahead and get started. It says find the area of this square. Well, you guys do pretty well with this. And right now we're given that this side length here is 3 centimeters long. And I don't have the side lengths for the rest of the sides, but since it's a square, we know that all the side lengths are the same. So we can put in 3, 3, and 3. Now remember, we're finding the area. We can either use length times width, or we can use base times height. You might hear them being called different things, but basically all it's saying is you're going to take this side length and multiply it by this side length, and that's going to give you the area on the inside. Now notice, when we're referring to the area on the inside, we could draw little squares in here, couldn't we? Yeah, we could. And so these are going to be square units. And so we're going to have 3 times 3, and that's going to give us 9. So we do length times width or base times height. So I'm going to do my base of 3 times my height of 3, and that's going to be 9. And then again, since it's centimeters, I'm going to write centimeters. And then I talked about you could draw little squares, so it's going to be centimeters squared. All right? So we're talking about everything on the inside, and we're not just talking about the distance around the shape. So 9 centimeters squared. And now over here, I have my height, and I have my base. All right, you might also hear this being called your length and your width, okay? But regardless, you're going to do this side multiplied by the other side, so it's 10 times 7. That's going to be 70, and my label is inches. And then one more time, we could draw little squares in here, right? So it's going to be inches squared. Think about if you've ever been in a classroom, you'll see like little square tiles on the floor, all right? And a lot of times they're in square feet, or the tiles on the ceiling of a classroom. You'll also see them in like rectangles or squares, because again, area is referring to square inches, square feet, square anything, because it's not just the distance around something. All right, so 70 inches squared. And as we progress through this, you'll see some of these are kind of easy, like number 3, where it's just 2 times 12. And that's going to give me 24 kilometers squared. But then we get to triangles. Oof. Well, notice with a triangle, it's not a rectangle, right? But we could draw a rectangle, and it's kind of like we have 1, 2 triangles. And so in other words, it's like this triangle is half the area of a square or rectangle, which is exactly what it is. We're going to do the base times the height, just like we did before. And so we're going to do 11 times 6 to get 66. But now we're going to add this other part to it, which is dividing by 2. All right, so we're going to divide 66 by 2. This is the area for a triangle, base times height divided by 2. So 66 divided by 2 gives us 33. And I know you couldn't technically draw, a bunch of perfect squares inside of this triangle like you could with a rectangular square, but since it's talking about area, it is still going to be feet squared. Okay, so we have our units label of feet, and then we have it squared because it's referring to area. All right, so again, we have a triangle here, and it's not a triangle that perfectly splits a rectangle in half, but it's still going to be the same formula. Base times height divided by 2. All right, so let's do that base times height first. We do 5 times 10. That gives us 50 divided by 2. So that's going to be 50 divided by 2, which gives us 25. Remember, I need to look at my units, which is meters, and its area, so it's squared. All right, doing well so far. I hope you guys are feeling good with this. So far, I'm having fun with it. Now I'm looking at 6. It says find the area of this obtuse triangle. Well, does it matter that it's obtuse? Like whether it's acute or obtuse, does it really matter? Well, luckily it does not. And so here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a look at our height, which again is going to be 7. And this is where it gets a little confusing. We're like, okay, well, this here is the height. What is the height of this side? Well, we're not going to be looking at that side length for the height, because the height is just going to be how far it is from the base all the way going up. So we're not going to take a look at this slanted side. So we're going to take our 7 here and our 14, and we're going to do our base times our height. All right, we're going to do 14 times 7. And if I do 7 times 4, that gives me 28. And then 7 times 10 gives me 70. So it's going to be 98 inches squared. I'm sorry, meters squared, because it's meters and not inches. So you got to pay close attention to what your units are going to be. It changes with every problem. And then I have to do my final step here of dividing it by 2, since that's going to be the area of a triangle. So 98 divided by 2 gives me my new area of 49 meters squared. Okay, so this here is going to be 49 meters squared. And then this is where we have to use what we know about quadrilaterals and triangles to find the area of these polygons we see on the screen. So it says this shape is a combination of 2 rectangles. Okay, so I've got rectangle number 1 and rectangle number 2. And they draw these little lines here to help you out. I like to make them even darker, so that way I can very clearly separate the 2 rectangles. And so I have my base and my height here. So it's going to be 6 times 5. And then over here I have my base times my height again. So it's going to be 8 times 4. Well, when I figure out that the area of this rectangle is 30 meters squared, and the area of the other rectangle is 32 meters squared, I can simply just add these together, because when you think about it, if this rectangle is 32 meters squared and this rectangle is 30 meters squared, if I add the 2 lengths together, it's going to give me the area of this entire rectangle here. All right, so that's going to give me 62 meters squared. And then we can move on to the next problem. So we have a triangle up here. So that is going to be base times the height divided by 2. That's the key, because it's half the size of a rectangle. And then below it, we're going to do the area of the rectangle, which is going to be just our base times our height. And we're not going to divide it by 2. And so we're going to do 10 times 4 to get 40 meters squared. And then right here for the triangle, we're going to do 4 times, this is where it gets a little tricky. So we have the height. The height is 4. That's how much it is going from here up to here. But it doesn't tell me my measure going across here. How can I figure out what that is? Oh, well, notice I've got my 10 meters down below. So I know that this on top is also going to be 10 meters. Because with rectangles, opposing sides have the same side length, like 4 across from 4. And then we have 10 across from 10. So now it's 10 times 4 divided by 2. So that's going to be 20. It's not letting me write. There we go. There's 20. So we have 20 meters squared plus our 40 meters squared. So 20 plus 40, that's going to give us 60 meters squared in total. That would be our final area for this entire shape. Maybe I want to highlight that so that way it stands out. 60 meters squared for this shape here, and then 62 meters squared for this shape here. All right. So now what you're going to do is use this exercise sheet to complete these worksheets below. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the worksheets on a separate video. Thank you so much for watching.